Hello, my name is Aries Howard, and today I'm doing my informative speech for public speaking at OSU. And my topic is about the scale method. And you might be asking, what is the scale method? The scale method is a social technique that helps analyze current standing with other individuals and identifies points of leverage in specific situations. Where did this method come from? Well, there's actually a different principle that's a lot like it, and that one was derived from sociologist Willard Walter Waller in 1938. His principle was called the principle of least interest. But the difference between the principle of least interest and the scale method, though, is that Waller's research was solely based around married couples and the dynamic between them. Both, however, are connected to this one quote, which is the person who cares the least holds the most power. And it clarifies in there in the brackets that in a relationship to pertain to the principle of least interest. But how it works though is usually in a relationship, the person who cares the least or the person who is the most okay with walking away or not continuing the relationship is the one that's able to set the parameters and the criteria that the other person has to meet in order for the relationship to keep going. And that gives them leverage in order to dictate what direction that the relationship goes. So Willard's research talked about this within married couples who've been together for quite a while. But the difference between the two, between the scale method and the principle of least interest, is that the least interest principle pertains to romantic relationships, and when it's premeditated and intentional, it can be considered manipulative. It's referred to commonly as playing hard to get, which is a term I'm sure all of us have heard at one point or another. But the scale method pertains to social situations, and it's a technique used in opposition. So not specifically romantic relationships, but just opposition in general. I'm going to clarify what I mean by opposition. Car dealerships is a great example. You can almost expect to negotiate every time you walk onto a car dealership for a car. The person sitting across from you, the car salesman, would be the opposition. He would be the one that you're trying to convince that you actually don't care about the car, but but deep inside you know that it's a perception that you do want the car, but you're not going to let him know that. By doing this, though, you were able to maintain and not only monitor your leverage during a negotiation. This often happens in real estate as well. You usually are also going to negotiate when you're buying a house or even selling a house, but you want to be able to monitor and use leverage to your advantage. But it actually can be used for evil as well. The scale method was used by Reed Slatkin from Scientology. He was a Scientology minister, and he stole money from the Church of Scientology. And then you got the Polka King on the right, and he stole money from rich people who were just wanting to earn money back on, earn money, better investment, better return on their investment. I'm sorry. But both acted as if they did not want the money of the rich people, but that they were doing them a favor. That it was like, yeah, I can help you out. But in fact, they did want the money, but they weren't going to let the rich people know that that's what they wanted. Because turns out how humans are wired is we tend to want things that we can't have. We want them badly if we can't have them. So the real question is, can the scale method be used for good or evil? And I'd like to leave this open-ended because it really comes down to the context and the planned usage, I guess, of it. But how the scale method works, though, is you picture yourself on one side of the scale and the visual on the other. The goal is to not break the scale. If someone walks out or uh, ends the relationship or the negotiation ends, you don't want to get someone to literally walk away. The goal is to get what you want and for the other person to get what they want. Uh, by being able to visualize the scale in your head, this can better give you an advantage for monitoring leverage. But is it for good or for evil, or you can use it ethically or unethically? That's kind of up to you. But it's a fantastic technique.